Welcome back to the program. The interview that you're waiting for is just about to begin. Remember, keep tweeting. The hashtag is NEWSNIGHT and the SMS line is 22422. Joining us to continue with this discussion is the Jubilee Vice Chair, David Murathe. Now, a bit earlier on in the program, Honorable Murathe, we spoke a little bit about your alleged involvement in some of the allegations of corruption again also at KEMSA, and you did speak at length about that and made some allegations which we will not continue with right now because those parties are not here to defend themselves. But before we finish with that, because I also need to talk to you about the future of the Jubilee Party, let me ask you this. The evidence or what you've said today on the program, are you willing to go before a parliamentary committee to give the same evidence? Is that something you're ready to do?
Yes, Wahiga, we are happy to do that, and we are also demanding that everybody who has spoken about this issue of KEMSA and the COVID billionaires should be summoned by the parliamentary committees on health to say what they know to help in the investigations. Wahiga, when that man called me a conman and a broker and a busybody, I was not there to defend myself. So it is quite unfair for you to say that I'm making allegations when he's not there to defend himself.
Okay.
Number two, what is being called a scandal, it is doing so much harm to this country, because remember what the donors do. They do malaria, they do universal health care, they do HIV and AIDS. Now, when everybody goes talking about corruption in the health sector in this country, they are affecting millions and millions of other programs which are supported by our international partners. I wish people could talk about hard facts and evidence rather than playing politics with this COVID issue.
David Murathe, fair point, but of course we know the EACC has been investigating this, so we'll wait to hear from them on the way forward. But one last one for you. Tell me this. Tony Gashoka, political commentator, a former journalist I believe as well, says that you and his brother are behind some of the KEMSA scandals. Why would Tony say that, not just about you, but about his own brother, Honorable Murathe?
The less said about Tony, the better. Everybody knows the history of Tony Gashoka. Tony's family and my family were all in wine and spirits. Tony ran down the family business, stripped it dead when the young William and their siblings were studying in Europe, in London. It is this same William who is trying to bring back together the family estate. And those are sibling issues. I don't want to get involved. The less said about TG, the better.
I wish you'd say the same about the Deputy President. I guess my question is, why is he so unhappy with you? Especially in this particular... He's been tweeting all day about this interview.
He has issues with his brother.
No, with you.
He has issues with myself.
Why with you specifically?
Tony used to be the right-hand man of the Right Honorable Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga. He left that position of Chief of Protocol very unceremoniously. He had then, of late, as recent as his last birthday, where I appeared with the former Prime Minister, tried to position himself as one of the right-hand men of the former Prime Minister. I think he's finding like we are taking his space around the former Prime Minister. And I'm telling him that is clearly not the case, and he should stop bringing those petty issues into the larger picture of the new political formations that are taking shape in this country.
Fair enough. And just one last one on the same. Because he's made several allegations against you, wouldn't it be prudent then, because it also seems you have a lot of evidence from some of the things you've said here tonight, that you take your evidence to the EACC, to the DCI. You've said you'd testify before a parliamentary committee, but some would ask, why haven't you already taken the evidence that you have to the authorities? You seem to know a lot tonight, Vice Chair.
Because that is exactly what the former Prime Minister has demanded. That is what we have demanded. That is what the government has demanded. The government has said that these agencies should be left to carry out their investigations, And we are saying anybody who has anything to help in these investigations should volunteer to the investigative agencies.
Respectfully, Vice Chair.
When it comes to Parliament, Wahiga, when it comes to Parliament, they have the power to summon. They have the power to summon anybody who is making all these baseless allegations against persons in terms of defamation and character assassination. Some of us have already gone to the DCI to complain. Okay. Some of us have filed suits against some of those people who are making these unfounded allegations against our persons and our names.
Okay, I did want to hear whether you've already taken the evidence that some of which you've spoken about here tonight to the DCI. So you say you've taken that information to the DCI or to the EACC or to both?
No, we have taken a complaint. The EACC and the other agencies are the ones who summon persons of interest.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that Parliament has the power to summon each and everybody, including those bloggers, Tony Gachoka, Robert Alai, Halwale, Mudhama. Anybody who is talking about money which is lost ought to be summoned to say how much has been stolen, who stole it, and the evidence that they have or any information that can help these agencies to unearth this. This is a smear campaign. This is politics. This has nothing to do with the operation of the distribution of the COVID materials.
Okay, and I bet you those on the other side would also say it's politics because you've also alluded to some of them. But nevertheless, let's take this a bit forward. And you, when we began this interview, said you are concerned that last week the Deputy President said a few things about you that you were not given a chance to respond to. I'm going to give you a chance to respond right now to what he said. But first, let's just remind our viewers about that interview that was live on Citizen TV last week.
The party has been hijacked by busybodies and conmen, you know, and brokers like Murathe and company. Yeah? People who have no clue where why the philosophy behind Jubilee, they were nowhere.
Well, let's get into it. Honorable Murathe, have you hijacked Jubilee as the Deputy President alleges?
If I remember correctly, he said we are junior members of the Jubilee party. And I'm just wondering, how do junior members of the party run him out of town? How do junior members of the Jubilee party hijack the party? These are the people who, by their own volition, left Jubilee House and went and formed something called the Jubilee Asili Center. And they said that is where they shall be operating from. Nobody chased them from Jubilee. Nobody chased them from Jubilee House.
And yet you have on numerous occasions said shape up or ship out, it's time to leave. Those do sound like words from a man who's not keen to have the other players, you know, within the same property. You know, your words could be construed as a sign of get out.
These guys have as well as said it in so many words. I was watching the Deputy Secretary General last night, and he was saying, we are not about to leave Jubilee until we have cleared the mess in Jubilee. What is he telling you? He's telling you they are going to leave anyway, but they are going to first make sure that they have really messed up the party before they leave it. Now, when you have cases of gross insubordination, like the Deputy Secretary General insubordinating the Secretary General, where the Secretary General issues certain edicts and the Deputy Secretary General appears to be countermanding that. And I'll give you a good example about your Deputy President. When the President made the last pronouncement about the need to do the referendum
he's the nation's
and
Deputy
to do
President.
the BBI, he came on TV the same evening to say that there has been no party conversation about that position. I want him to know that the position of the party leader is the position of the party.
Do you speak on behalf of President Uhuru Kenyatta tonight?
No, I'm speaking on behalf of the party. I'm speaking as the vice chairman of the party. When the party leader expresses himself on an issue, that is the party position. And if he doesn't like it, he should ship out. And number two, and by the way, he says they speak a lot with the party leader. Are these things that are supposed to be canvassed in public on national television? Or he should be looking up for the party leader to have this conversation and ask him, hey, where did we arrive at this position? What is the right position for the party? I think that is also gross insubordination.
Because this is not the first time that you've said this, Honorable Murathe, why not just remove him as the deputy party leader? You have control over NEC. We've seen some of the changes that have happened in Jubilee, and there's also the possibility of grassroots party elections. It sounds like this is one of many interviews where you'll come and say, ship out, and nothing happens.
My friend, the party has procedures, the party has a constitution, the party has structures, the party has the disciplinary committee, the party has so many ways of dealing with some of these issues. But then remember, you're talking here about the person of the deputy party leader. At that level, I don't think, unless we have a fully fledged NEC meeting where we can canvass these issues, these are not matters to be canvassed in public on national television. And by the way, we have not removed any of his people. Some of the people who are sitting in that NEC vacated by virtue of them vacating their positions in parliament. Duale used to represent the party in the NEC because he was the leader of the majority. The minute he ceased being the leader of the majority, he left. Murkomen, the same thing. And people are saying we are chasing out people. We did not chase them. They lost their positions. They were in that NEC by virtue of their positions.
How did they lose their positions in parliament? Something that you said was coming. You make it sound as if they lost it.
They had it's the membership of the National Assembly. If you look at the case of Duale, 126 signatures signed not to have confidence in him out of 170. If 126 members of parliament signed that they have no confidence in you, how can you then claim to be the leader of the majority of that party? The same case with people like Murkomen. They were thrown out by virtue of a parliamentary group meeting where everybody attended. And that was arising from a meeting that had been called by the party leader, which they were actively canvassing and whipping people not to attend. And the rank and file of the party in the Senate and in the National Assembly decided they are not going to stomach any more of that.
On the same note, Honorable Murathe, do you have a personal issue with the Deputy President? Do you have anything against him?
Oh, no, I don't have a personal issue with the Deputy President. And remember, Wahiga, when Moi was running around in 2002, he said about the former Vice President then, George Saitoti, he said Saitoti was his friend, but leadership is different. Alisema huyu Saitoti ni rafiki yangu, lakini uongozi ni tofauti. And we have come now to appreciate when you are the president, you have an obligation to look around and determine who is the right person to come after you. Because if you leave this country in the wrong hands, the future generations will always blame you.
Who are you referring to when you say the wrong hands? Who are you alluding to?
When you're the leader of a country, you look around you and you decide you are leaving. So even in a family, the head of the family decides who is the right child to leave the leadership of the family, in whose hands will he leave that. Okay. And he knows. He knows the greedy child. He knows the one who will sit on the other children. He knows who is the rational child. You have to have that responsibility as the head of state and decide, because this guy has been on probation. He has been tested. And all this time, they were trying to see if they can actually leave this country in his hands. Unfortunately, the jury is out there.
Vice Chair, are you referring to the Deputy President? Because we always knew that it was as per the Jubilee plan, and what was really emphasized at rallies is that 10 years of Uhuru, 10 years of Ruto. You're saying tonight that is not the case and the President is looking another way. Is that it?
I have said nothing of the sort. That was a pronouncement by the President himself on the campaign trail. And I have said it before and I'll say it again. Kama walikubaliana hiyo ni yao. If they agreed that is them. But that is not what the rank and file of the party think. In any case, the deputy president himself has said he's open to competition. People can challenge him. I can challenge him myself. There are so many other people who are willing to challenge him for the ticket.
You have recently said, and it's actually related to what you've just said, that it is time for Kenyans to give former Prime Minister, ODM leader Raila Odinga a chance at the presidency. In fact, you likened him to Nelson Mandela. Why would you say that as the vice chair of the Jubilee party about the leader of a party that opposed Jubilee at least 2 times in previous elections?
That is my democratic right. I am not expressing the views or the opinions or the position of the party. I am saying I, as David Murathe, I find that it is time that we, as Kenyans, have a Mandela moment. I don't think you understand what is a Mandela moment, Wahigawa. This is a guy who was fighting apartheid and the white people for the longest period. And when he came out of prison after 26 years, the whole of South Africa agreed that this is the man who was going to nurture a transitional arrangement to bridge the white and the black people of South Africa. And after one term, he went home. Raila has been it longer than Mandela. If you recall, from 1979 to 2019, that is over 40 years, struggling, fighting for democracy, getting jailed, standing for what is good for this country. And we are now looking at a transitional arrangement where we're going to nurture new generational young people to take over this country. We need that space, and that is why I'm calling for Kenyans to consider the Right Honorable former Prime Minister as the transitional leader come 2022, and that is my personal opinion. And Wahiga, let me also clarify something. Every time I speak, people purport that I am purporting to speak on behalf of the president. I don't. I have a mind of my own. Does that say that whenever Kipchumba Murkomen speaks or Sudi, they are speaking on behalf of William Ruto?
And yet almost everything that you say over the last 2 years has come true, or the party has followed that particular path. So you wouldn't blame people tonight for saying that whenever David Murathe speaks, he is expressing the sentiments of the president. I think many tonight would challenge you on that.
No, nothing can be further from the truth. In fact, sometimes we have very fierce quarrels with His Excellency the President, precisely because of that stereotyping by the media. I have a position which I normally take. And by the way, we have studied this president. When we say that the president is going to have a legacy of leaving a united country, when we say that the president is going to fight corruption and that he will jail anybody, including his brother, including David Murathe, it is because we know him and we know what he stands for and we know what he means. If you have been with somebody for the longest time, you know his mind. But I don't purport to speak for the president. I speak my mind and I speak my piece. If that is in sync with what the government is doing, so be it.
Because you say you support the ODM leader Raila Odinga, who does the president support? Who is he inclined to?
I cannot purport to speak for the president. The president said in Nyeri, the person he is going to support in 2022 will shock many people. I don't know who he will support. He has not said who he will support. And by the way, do you know the Right Honorable former Prime Minister has never said that he's going to be on the ballot in 2022. We are the people who are saying maybe this is the right time for him to nurture the future leadership of this country. We are the people who are edging him on. The president has never, and I don't expect that the president will ever say that he's supporting so and so. And that is why it is actually contradictory for people to go around saying that he promised to support the deputy president. The president is democratic and he will let the people decide.
Indulge me a little bit on this, Vice Chair. So let's look at practical terms of your proposal. You say you're supporting former Prime Minister Honorable Raila Odinga. Practically, how will this play out? He's the leader of ODM. You're the Vice Chair of Jubilee. How will your support translate to an actual bid for his presidency when you both are on opposing parties, parties that bitterly fought at the ballot in previous elections?
There may be new formations going forward. Suppose, look, right now we are doing something called cooperation with the Wiper Democratic Party. We are in cooperation inside and outside Parliament. We are cooperating with ODM, and it is not a written cooperation arrangement. We are in coalition agreement with KANU. In fact, it is called the Jubilee Coalition. A day in politics, Wahiga, is a very long time. And I can tell you, as sure as the day follows night, 2022, there will be new political formations, and I'm just hoping we'll be on the same side with the Right Honorable former Prime Minister as Jubilee Party. I know the Tuko Sote Pamoja wing of the Jubilee Party may have other ideas, and that's why we are saying the sooner they ship out, the better.
Okay. It appears that you are cooperating and having coalitions with several other entities, but some would ask, what about the cooperation with members of the Jubilee Party, specifically those who support His Excellency the Deputy President? No meetings. It appears that you're spending more time in cooperations and talks with other parties and other possible candidates, except for the Deputy President.
By the way, we have no problems as a Jubilee family. And in fact, we have no problem with the candidature of the Deputy President. These are choices. These are democratic choices that people make as individuals. I have said me, as David Murathe, I don't think he's the right person to succeed President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. And because of the way he has behaved when he's a vice president, deputy president, I shudder to think how he would behave when he is actually the actual president.
Let me interrupt you. How has he behaved? What are you referring to?
Come on, Wahiga, are you a visitor in Jerusalem? Theft, scandals, what, Maze, I don't know Muteshi, I don't know Weston, I don't know the public toilet in Ruai. All these things when they are following you all over the place and you shamelessly walk around as if it means nothing.
And
if you can do those things
and yet tonight,
when you are the number two, well, how will you behave when you are number one?
Certain allegations are bedeviling you at this time. You dismiss it as politics, but for the Deputy President, you take it as fact. How is that?
But these are facts. He has gone to court. He has admitted. He has even done a reparation to Muteshi. He went on BBC on that hard talk. He admitted that Weston was irregularly and illegally acquired. Now he's trying to say that he can go and pay off KCAA. How do you go and steal public property and then you say you want to pay for it after the fact?
Okay, my final question to you, because we do need to wrap this up, and of course, as always, I keep saying he's not here to defend himself, is this has been the Vice President nominated by the Jubilee Party. You're speaking as if the Jubilee Party started recently. This is a man you've been working with for a very long time. When did the rain start beating your relation with him? Because 3-4 years ago, you would not have come on an interview like this to make such strong allegations.
My friend, people go to church and they swear before man and before God to get married till death do you part. But people still divorce. These arrangements, politics is dynamic. And if you started by behaving well and then you change your character along the way, everybody has a right to change their mind about the position. And in any case, this was a person who had been assured of the support of the president. He was asked to let the government deliver on the pledges and the promises they made to the people. And the president actually said, I will personally campaign for him when 2022 comes. But the guy was in such a hurry to inherit the presidency. In fact, the right analogy was when he was told, you're racing without the baton. Why are you racing without the baton? I've not handed over the baton to you. How do you go, even if you're Usain Bolt, how do you go and finish a race without the baton?
Okay, I think you've made your sentiments very clear on that. Before we wrap up this discussion, Building Bridges Initiative. Last week, the nation celebrated 10 years since the promulgation of the new constitution, and around that was a big discussion about the return of BBI, return in terms of COVID having affected the discussions around that and a referendum possibly coming up. Are you privy to details on that final report that Kenyans have been waiting to know what is actually contained in it?
You know, I'm surprised there are people who are already opposing the referendum and the BBI, and they have not seen it. Nobody knows the contents of the work of that committee. Remember, the committee launched a report at Bomas. They were then tasked to go and validate whether the views that they presented to Kenyans captured the true spirit of what Kenyans wanted. And that was a validation exercise. Today, people are already taking positions on a document which they have not read, on a document which has not been unveiled, on a document which has not been presented to the two principals for public discourse. I am actually surprised when I hear the Deputy President already saying, unless he's private to it.
I want to see if we can have a discussion without mentioning the Deputy President, Honorable Murathe, because I asked you, are you privy to the details of that final report? Or why we have the delay? We are not.
Nobody is.
Why is there a delay?
Nobody is privy to the details. We are all waiting for the document to be presented to the two principals. It will then be presented to the Kenyans, and that is where Kenyans will now agree to support or not to support. But you cannot, at this point, start already mobilizing and asking people to oppose something which you have not seen, which you have not read, which you don't know what it contains.
You've been on record in the past talking about your preference within that. And of course, nobody has seen that report, which is what you're saying tonight, that final report, pushing for a presidential seat, 2 deputies, a prime minister seat, 2 deputies. Is that still your view? And how would you see that playing out?
Everybody had a chance to go and present their views to the committee on the BBI. That is my personal view, that we need to expand the executive so that this winner-take-all killer mentality disappears. Everybody wants to be on the table. It's about inclusion. And I know part of the Jubilee agenda and part of the Jubilee manifesto and part of the president's legacy is to leave behind a unified country. And how do you unify various interests, various communities, various tribes? Let everybody feel inclusion. Let people feel included. It is when people feel like they do not belong that you start even getting talk of people talking about secession.
Okay, I think you've made your point very clear on that. Of course, as Kenyans get out of the disruption brought about by COVID, and it's been quite a disruption, the next very big event looming up is the 2022 election. And I know there are many across the country watching this interview tonight who are concerned about their votes counting, because there's been a lot of talk about a deep state. Honorable Murathe, are you part of the deep state?
Am I part of what?
Deep state.
The deep state?
Yes.
What is the deep state? Even Donald Trump is talking about the deep state. Donald Trump is the president of the most powerful nation on earth. He's talking about the deep state which is conspiring to stop him from winning re-election in November. What is the deep state, my friend? If you're talking about the deep state, the deputy president should be part of the deep state. He attends the National Advisory Security Committee meetings. Okay. If there is any other level higher than that, I beg to be informed.
Vice Chair, let me read you a definition. This is a quick textbook definition of the deep state. It's an alleged secret network of especially non-elected government officials, sometimes private entities. They operate to influence and enact government policy. Non-elected government officials. Does that exist in Kenya?
That is the textbook version of what you're talking about. But my own understanding is that you cannot have a parallel system outside the formal system of government. You cannot have non-elected people who are outside government influencing government policy. That is why you have a cabinet where they go and deliberate government policy. And then they enact the laws through parliament, the 3 arms of government. And all these are innuendos, my friend. And it's because when people don't find things happening, they look for scapegoat and they look for excuses and they look for the people to blame for their inadequacies.
And yet we know that there have been many meetings or several meetings held at a Kajiado residence, I'm told also possibly at your residence as well, to discuss the future of the nation post-2022. That, for some, is part of the work of the deep state. Tell us about those meetings.
No. Everybody has meetings. People who share common interest. We meet in several places. I can give you several other places that people meet. People who share a common purpose, a common vision, and a common ideology. We meet in several places. People come together. And if people don't come together, and I'll tell you, we have our own, and by the way, my friend, we don't care. Some of us, the so-called president's men, when the president goes home, we go home with him, like Obama's men, Bush's men, Clinton's men. We are not interested in those seats, but we care who will come after this president. So we have to sit, discuss, and scheme. We don't know who will be president, but we are working very hard to know who will not become president.
So when you say you scheme, don't you can't blame those who believe that your actions are deep state-ish in behavior, then, don't you? Because you've spoken about even scheming.
My friend, we are not in government. We are not in government. By the way, I have no official capacity in government. The only public appointment, which is actually interim, is the vice chair of the ruling Jubilee coalition, the Jubilee party. And that was a nominated thing. Just like everybody else, the deputy president, all the other officials of Jubilee were on interim, including the secretary general, including the deputy secretary general. And we are now working out systems of doing a proper party election, which will then have elected party officials. And I can assure you, I will not even run for those positions because I have no interest.
Finally, when President Uhuru goes home, what is your plan?
When the president goes home, the president's men go home with the president. All right? Mm-hmm. We have things we do. We do businesses. We can also have space, and we can have time to do other things. I told you earlier, I am doing coffee. I can help my people in the village with the good crop husbandry. I can venture into any business. Waihiga, when I was 30 years, mm-hmm. I was the largest African computer company in this country. I was IBM business partner, not IBM dealer, IBM business partner. And I was Kenya Business Machines. That capacity is still there. I mean, not everything revolves around politics.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Even as we wrap up, one of the questions from our viewers is a statement that's been made quite a number of times. Is Uhuru too young to retire? What do you make of that?
It's not about age. Obama retired already. It's about Kenyans. It's about, has he had enough time uninterrupted to finish his vision and mission and promise to Kenya? I know the president. The president wants to go home. I know he wants to be faithful to the presidential term limit. He wants to be not among the African presidents who hang on forever and ever, amen. But having said that, if we have a new political dispensation which creates other structural political arrangements, nothing should stop him from being part of the mix.
Okay, David Murathe, I've said we're winding up so many times, but now we are, and let me read the tweets. I'll give you a parting shot as we wrap up this discussion. This is what Kenyans are saying online via 22422 and via the hashtag Newsnight. Shadrach22X says, when I listened to Murathe saying money was not lost, but it's politics, I'm so much disappointed, but I'm not surprised, querying some of the statements made by the Jubilee Vice Chair. Said saying, kindly ask Murathe, what makes him think that Raila Odinga would be the best option in 2022? Does that mean they'll not give the presidential ticket to the deputy president? Saif, I believe some of your thoughts were responded to. Enoch Kiptanui saying, all David Murathe, a.k.a. the fixer, is saying is that the DP is pushing himself out of the party. He's just messing up with the party first. Okay. Let's look at your tweets. Remember, the hashtag is Newsnight. Listen to David Murathe speak. I'm convinced that he's speaking on behalf of very powerful people. Very interesting times ahead. And Oseno Mark, this man Murathe is just plainly so honest, very clear in all his expressions. I want to give you a chance to respond to that, even as you respond to the title of our little name tag there, broker, fixer, hijacker. Where do you see yourself, David Murathe?
I actually think it was a very mischievous kicker that you had there. But having said that, Wahiga, let us think about this country. Let us think about the damage we are doing when we throw all manner of wild allegations about lost money. There is evidence that can be produced to demonstrate whether money was lost. There is an inventory. I think people are taking some of these things for granted, and they are creating some very interesting narratives about others in terms of, like, I have so many fake Facebook pages created in my name, and people go out there posting all manner of things. When I want to say something, I call the press and I say it openly the way we are doing tonight. People should ignore all those fake Facebook and Twitter pages attributed to me.
Fair.
I speak my mind and I speak straight. And when I have something to say, I'll call the media and I'll say it live the way we are doing now.
Fair enough. We're going to have to take that as your parting shot. David Murathe, Jubilee Vice Chair. And what an interview that has been, trying to get his take, allegations of corruption against him, and of course the future of the Jubilee Party and his thoughts on the future of the country as well. Thank you so much for your feedback. The hashtag has been Newsnight, SMS line 22422. My name is Wahiga Mwara. On behalf of the whole team that's made this show possible, thank you so much for tuning in. Sign language interpreter has been Wilson Mushora. Every Tuesday, expect more interviews like this, even as we understand what's happening in the country, so much to grapple with, and we know that Kenyans are looking for answers. That's the end of the program. Have a good night. Stay safe wherever you're watching the program from, and God bless.